Women's sports triggers men so much because when women act even slightly like men in terms of pursuing their career, their dangerous sports even, and put their themselves first, we're called selfish. We're told to she should have forfeited because she had a torn ACL, despite lots of athletes doing the same thing with torn ACL. The way, like, I'm telling you, pay attention during the Olympics. Pay attention to the way the men in your life talk about stories like this, and you will see their casual or very obvious misogyny, entitlement, and hatred for women come out in the way they talk about people like Lindsey Vonn. Because they would never ask a man or assume that he ever should back out of the Olympics because he had an injury that so many athletes have and continue. And she is a badass. Call her selfish for doing what men do all the time. Also, the difference between her and a lot of men who do this is she is a professional athlete. So this is literally her job. But she does not have children or a man at home who, is really worried about her dying all the time. She just has a dog. She is like, men hate her so much because she's 41, hot as hell, strong as hell, and has a dog instead of children and a husband. I love that. She was not going to back out because of one injury. Mind you, no matter what women do, it's never going to be the right thing. They will never not be judged, especially a black woman. When Simone Biles got the twisties and backed out of a competition for her own mental health and her safety, she wasn't, patriotic. How dare she betray her company and her country and put herself first, her life first? Because, I can't believe she hasn't gotten fatally injured yet doing the stuff she does, but she's that good. She's so good. She's one of the few people who can take risks that big because she is on a next level than all her peers. Lindsey Vonn is basically kind of that in skiing, although, not at the same level. I mean, I think Simone Biles is like if not the best athlete of all time, one of the best of all time, of all sports. So if Lindsey had backed out, she would have been criticized. Never as much as Simone is criticized for literally anything and everything. Even when she's winning gold, beating her own record again and again and again. She will never not be targeted for anything she does because that is just white supremacy culture and misogynoir. But before I get back to Lindsey, this was one of my favorite stories of the Olympics, that she set an example of she did not feel safe doing it because of the twisties, and she prioritized her life and her mental health over another freaking gold to add to a pile of gold she's already got. She didn't need another one. We could all learn from her. And remember, the way women are used, our women's bodies and children, especially in the Olympics and the gymnastics, the way they are used. I mean, remember this story. She didn't even have to do that vault. Now, according to many sources, they didn't know that at the time. But remember, this dude ended up being a predator. Abusive on that little ranch of his, along with his wife. If you want to look up on Snopes what they said about it, some of the judges were surprised that Carrie Shrug even did that vault. But whatever. Anyway, it's up for debate. Now, I know these are all very different stories with very different contexts, different periods of time. This is just a reminder, no matter what you do as a woman, you will be criticized. But especially if you center yourself and you don't self-abandon or martyr yourself, you will be punished. And the less privilege you have under white supremacy, patriarchal culture, the more you will be punished for not serving yourself up on a platter to the powers that be, or in your private life to a husband or some man, your dad, or someone you're expected to take care of. Children even. Now, I am not a sports reporter, and this is not a deep dive. Some of y'all probably know way more about all of these athletes than I do. But yesterday I was getting so annoyed on the internet by all of these armchair experts who talk just like Dax and have no idea what they're talking about, but especially the men. But it's not just men. Women do this too. This is our indoctrination. A lot of women get really triggered by single, child-free women. And I say this as somebody who was single and child-free up until I was 42. So all my 20s and all my 30s, I was like, damn, People really hate me for having an amazing life that doesn't center children and a husband. But even if she did have kids and a husband, she would be criticized for doing all this, putting herself in danger, where men do it all the time, even though this is her job. Men who do this as a hobby, I'm bored, I want to get away from my kids, I'm going to go climb Everest. This is literally her job, has been since she was 17, but she would get so much crap if she had children compared to the same person having all the same qualifications and that being a man. Men are not supposed to care about their kids or put them first. Women are not supposed to not have children and put themselves first. Anyway, I don't know. She could be problematic. Whatever. Every person, there's always something with everybody. So like, but I'm just talking about this specific incident. Feel free to add on to anything, but also don't be like, disprove everything I'm saying. Well, actually, Lindsey, and so your whole point, because this isn't even about her. Okay. This is not about her. This is me using her, just like I do like celebrities in general, to make a larger point of how we talk to women, how we think about women, how we treat them, how we judge them, versus how we do that to men. And then the different layers of that, obviously, and how other things come into play, like whiteness, all the privileges. And in this case, there's a lot of ageism going on with her, where a 41-year-old athlete, like Tom Brady, refused to retire. Now, I mean, some women judged him. He lost his family over it. But like, it is nothing new for men to not want to retire, even though that man had every reason to. All these kids at home, he was neglecting, allegedly. I love how in this article, this is for ESPN, she talks about how her dog that he'll be waiting for her with his unconditional support and wagging tail. See, women understand that only dogs seem to like love us unconditionally. But expecting any human other than maybe your parents who love you unconditionally is unrealistic. Where men expect us to love them unconditionally all the time for literally doing nothing but just being men. Their love between adults, especially in relationships, is conditional. It should be. You cheat on me, you make my life harder, you're gone. You exploit my labor, you criticize me, blah, 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 you're gone. Mind you, this woman came out of retirement, got trained, was winning all kinds of stuff. She got injured like 9 days or something before the Olympics. And she was still like faster and doing better than most. She still holds the record for the most downhill wins by any skier, male or female. She's also the only American woman to win gold in the downhill at the Olympics. Now, an U.S. American woman did actually win this yesterday. More about her in a sec. Vonn has had so many knee. By the way, I tore my ACL when I was a ski instructor in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. I actually know this injury and what it takes to rehabilitate this. The fact that she could ski so well and just perform so well with that injury is beyond wow. In the 2018 Olympics, she could barely bend her right knee or straighten it entirely. She has pushed through all kinds of pain because this is her career. This is her thing. So, a year after that injury, she competed in her final world championship ahead of her last race, knowing how much pain she was pushing through. Her longtime coach died. So anyway, she earned her bronze, said goodbye to the sport. She said, when I was ready to retire, I was retired. I really, truly built my life outside of skiing in a meaningful way. Look at what she did. In retirement, she embraced being a beginner. I love this. Now, I think anyone who is this level of athlete has to be a little crazy. Put yourself through so much, be this determined. That's why, like, they're Olympians. But I love that she, this mentality of, like, even though she built her whole life around skiing, she, in retirement, wanted to start new things. And that beginner mindset, all of the amazing things that I've done in my life were because at any age, I was able to become a new person at something, a beginner. Never played drums before, and at the age of like 41, joined a drum club and realized this is super fun and I'm actually like kind of good. Super embarrassing at first to not know. I still can't even read music, y'all. I don't even know what G, F, and all that crap means. She tried car racing, rodeo roping, and wrote a book. She shared her adventures with her beloved rescue dog and her mental health and her time with family and friends. Community, stuff that women are way better at because we've been socialized to. We know that we need that. Experiencing life beyond the isolated world of elite skiing provided her better perspective and built her self-confidence off skis. I love this part of her story. And then she lost her mother in 2022. And that's kind of seems to be what inspired her to try one more time. And that if she had another opportunity to ski again, she should take it. And if I fail, who cares? I love that she doesn't give a fuck. what you or me or anyone thinks. She does what she thinks she should do. And given how the internet was talking about her yesterday, it really requires that level of, I've already won everything. Someone asked me if not being successful at the Olympics would tarnish my legacy. No, because I try. My legacy is not about winning. It's about trying. I love that. I want more women especially to embrace this, because we are taught to not be confident like this. And perfectionism. Anyway, she underwent a partial knee surgery in 2024. And within a month, she could straighten her leg fully and perform exercises she hadn't done in years. So then she started, doing what she does best, got back into it. She ended up on the podium in 5 of 5 World Cup downhill races and won 2. And earned 2 podiums and 3. Like, she's unstoppable, y'all. Vonn said yes to this comeback for 2 simple reasons. Because she can, and because she believes she could win. That's it. And because of this, really complicated surgery she got, tectonic, whatever. She was able to dream again of getting gold at one more Olympic. And even though this was her ending, this is not her legacy. And in fact, Breezy Johnson went on to win the gold. Who, by the way, 4 years ago crashed on this very mountain, ending her chances to compete in the 22 games in Beijing. So this CNN article talks about how people talking about this can't comprehend. Cannot comprehend this being this much of a bad act. The armchair doctors and psychologists caped and crowed about Vonn, what Vonn should and shouldn't do. Now, I saw everything from people calling her selfish for taking up a space and not letting a younger skier, it's like a younger one? That she's still the best, or one of the best, even at her age. And then all these other people being like, what's wrong with her? The psychoanalysis of her and her decision. I mean, women, a lot of women were like, who let her do this? Who's counseling her? She has a whole team of people. And even, I guess, a whole community of people she's been really surrounding herself with after she retired the first time. Why don't you just trust that she has people advising her, a whole team of people, doctors, coaches, and then her into herself. What she thinks, who knows if this was the right choice for her, but she strongly believed, and given her record and all the injuries she's had and how well she was competing even with an injury during the practice runs and stuff, there's no reason for her to not believe that she should do this. And yet people infantilize women all the time, white women especially, or white women particularly. And just in general, people don't assume that women know what we're doing. Even an athlete like this, Simone, the same thing. Believe me. I mean, Simone even asked, would y'all please stop asking us if we're going to go to the Olympics the next time? Stop asking this ridiculous question. One doctor, who even knows if he's a doctor, on Twitter, I will not call it the other thing, said, posted that, maybe her ACL wasn't 100% torn, maybe more like 80%. And then a man who bills himself as a mental performance and leadership coach said in a USA Today column that Vonn skied because all of her self-worth was tied up into it. Well, clearly he has never talked to her. And Vonn clapped back that her ACL was in fact torn, and that to the mental health performance coach, that her life was quite full. Thank you very much. F off. She did not crash because her knee failed her. She crashed because this is how she skis, fearlessly and aggressively. She did not get to be Lindsey Vonn, arguably the greatest speed skier in history, man or woman, by playing it safe. She takes chances, cutting doing all this stuff to shave off time. That approach has earned her 84 World Cup wins, 3 Olympic medals, including a gold, and a career that stretches across 3 different decades. Imagine starting something at the age of 17 and your whole life being dedicated to that until you're 41, more or less, with the exception of that time off where she thought she was retiring. And unlike a lot of men in profession, when her body was screaming at her to stop, she accepted it. And it wasn't until she got this bionic, this surgery that she was like, oh wait, maybe I can do this stuff. But it doesn't seem like she was masochistic in this. I mean, you have to be a little masochistic to do this kind of stuff. And she understood what she was doing was abnormal, but hoped that in doing so, people might find a new normal for themselves. December 2025, so that was a couple months ago, she won her 44th career World Cup downhill race. And in January, she won another one. Had she not crashed in Switzerland, 9 days or whatever before this, people would have considered a favorite to medal here. And even despite that, people thought she might win. And by the way, that thing that she crashed in, after she crashed, 2 other racers suffered the same fate, leading organizers to cancel the race for low visibility. So clearly she crashed because it wasn't really that was a major factor. These 2 athletes are the ones who also crashed. Now, in this article for USA Today, talks about how her knee had nothing to do with that injury. And they asked other speed skaters or speed skiers. So a lot of skiers are really annoyed with all these people being like, Again, it is not unheard of for someone to ski with a torn ACL. Vonn herself did it in the fall of 2013, and Breezy Johnson tried in 2022. So before even doing this, Vonn said that her knee felt stable and strong, and she was also wearing a brace. When I had and again, I don't even want to bring myself into the same sentence with her, but when I tore my ACL in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, I did really rigorous recovery. I had one of the best doctors because the Jackson Hole is where a lot of these skiers train. And so all of the knee surgeons there are really good. And at the time, I had insurance, so I thought it was paid for. And my insurance company, after all that treatment, was like, never mind, you had an eating disorder and are narcoleptic, therefore you don't qualify for insurance. And that is why it took me 10 years and a lot of negotiating to pay off this $25,000 surgery when I was making minimum wage. And I went on to be, I was a raft guy that summer after the ski season in Taos, and I had to wear a brace, but my knee actually was okay. She was doing squats and all this stuff. I don't know if you saw in the video. Right after this injury, she's superhuman almost. In the training runs after this injury, she was the 11th best time in the first run and the 3rd fastest in the second. But with this injury, she was still very, very not likely, but a strong contender to win. And yet people are like, she stole a place from another athlete. There is no other Lindsey Vonn. And what's really annoying is that everyone is so focused on criticizing Lindsey that it totally overshadowed Breezy Johnson. Now you might say, I'm doing that in this video. This isn't about her. I don't know anything about skiing. I'm using this as an example to talk about how a woman as accomplished as Lindsey Vonn made a very rational decision. And the internet, literally, it was everywhere yesterday. It was so annoying. It was trending #1 on Thread, criticizing her after she had a horrific fall. And instead of talking about Breezy, they are criticizing Lindsey for, not bailing, basically saying, victim blaming, you brought this on yourself, bitch. You dumb bitch. You thought at your age, 41, you could just go out there and ski and do what you thought you should do and be selfish? Fuck you. This woman is literally in surgery for a leg fracture, which, by the way, I don't know much about her injury, but a fracture, I don't know where she broke her bone, but my father-in-law almost died of breaking his leg. That is a major, you bleed out, you die from a broken leg, especially if it's a tib-fib. So all that attention that should have gone to her for this massive accomplishment was redirected towards criticizing Lindsey Vonn and trying to ruin her whole legacy, saying she deserved, basically, karma is probably why she, And so there are some articles out now, which I appreciate, that are trying to reframe this. Lindsey Vonn has always gone all in, and these Olympics were no different. This is who she is. And in fact, one of the reasons why she was skiing so aggressively is because she knew that Breezy was she was trying to beat Breezy. Breezy had put down a lightning fast run, getting through, whatever. I'm not reading all these statistics. Vonn knew exactly what it would take for her to win. And you know what? She took a chance. She went a little too close, clipped it just like other people do all the time, fell. She did what she pretty much had to do to beat this time. And here's another quote of Vonn's. I think I'm able to fight. I think I'm still able to try. And I will try as long as I have the ability to. I will not go home regretting not trying. I will do everything in my power to be in that starting gate. That's exactly what she did. And again, this stuff happens all the time. Hitting one of those flag things or whatever. Mind you, her career is a tale of glory and tragedy, the highest of highs and the lowest and most painful of lows, short of just truly catastrophic injuries like death or paralysis. Because this is a very dangerous sport. And, you know, those are always lurking. And despite all that, she skis super aggressively, which is what makes her at this elite level. That's what it requires. This little story is really funny. It's 2 months after her surgery, you know, the one that brought her out of retirement. Her physical therapy rehab, she texted, I think this is her coach, I forget, asking if it was okay for her to get her knee wet. All good, he texted back. A couple hours later, a video of her ripping through the water on a wakeboard landed on his phone on her Instagram. And that is when the conversations about her comeback started. She wanted to end her career on her term. Her knee hadn't felt this good since she was a teenager. Go for it, he said. Of course she did. So again, there's a lot of articles out today, thank God, that are like reminding people, like, y'all don't know what the hell you're talking about. She had every right to compete and basically be there. And it's funny, they mentioned this thing about her dad. I don't know much about this. If somebody has heard these stories, I don't know anything about like this. I really don't know much about her. I just did a light research to talk about the subject. Again, this isn't about her. It is about an example of what patriarchy does to women, how it tells their story, how it frames them. She closely studied her response to pressure, and when she realized her father was exerting too much of it, she found strength to distance herself from him for a time. That's interesting. Does anyone know about that? Please share in the comments. And again, in this article, they mentioned some other people. Former Olympic champion Michael don't care, among the loudest of the chorus of disapproving voices. She should see a psychologist. Did you want to hear this now? Mind you, men will go to Everest with literally no training, hardly at all, have a wife and 3 small children at home. No one says this about them. Well, I do. This is so common for men to just go out and just almost die all the time. Never criticized for that. Professional athlete at one of the best in the world right now. And they're like, what, you mean that? According to this Atlantic article, she is now competing to be the oldest person ever to win an Olympic medal in downhill skiing. Well, I guess she didn't win it, but still. You know, the same, like when Serena Williams, you know, had a child and then went back to play tennis. The way the internet, like, I swear, I love seeing women go back after pregnancy, go back after injury, go back again and again, despite their age. And yet, you know, men do it. It's like, wow. When women do it, it's just criticized. If you want to understand more about the ACL and how it plays into all this, read, you know, there's more in this article. Like, it really depends on the sport. And like, they made this, reference to the Patriots, Stephon Diggs, who tore his ACL last year, how he remarked about Vonn. People can run, people can do whatever they need to do once they get the swelling out. It's kind of a weird injury. Plus, a reminder that athletes are built differently and this is their job. And even in terms of pain tolerance. And then I would argue in terms of pain tolerance, we know that women have a higher threshold of pain oftentimes. And yet, we are under prescribed pain meds for IUDs, like whatever. There's a whole nother conversation around our pain and how it is not even recognized. I even like shower. Like no man can stand in a shower as hot as most women can, almost always. Most cishet man. And by the way, her teammate, Breezy, who won, even defended her choice. More athletes have competed without an ACL than you think. They just often don't talk about it because they don't want to hear about it from the peanut gallery. And then I do like that some other athletes came on to defend her as well. Like Caroline says right here, this is she climbed Everest. I tore my ACL while skiing 6 weeks before leaving to climb Everest. I learned how to use my leg without an ACL and went on to submit the highest mountain on earth. I had surgery 4 days after I got home. We believe in our woman. Go, Lindsey. And then physical therapists were chiming in. You can absolutely live and function without an ACL. You can compete without an ACL. Yes, partial or complete tear. And in fact, a partial tear, from my understanding, is way more painful. I had a complete tear, so it wasn't really that painful. It was just swollen and like I had no stability. But it requires excellent strength and training to do this. The human body is amazing and athletes are incredible. Don't discount Lindsey Vonn just because you've never seen it done. Bam! Other athletes chimed in about, you know, tearing, got an MRI, excruciating back pain. Just, they're all sharing their stories of like, do you know what I've done on an injured this or that? And a lot of them are sharing all the things that they did to get that medal, even while injured. For some of us, we have one shot. And even if it's not your first time, if you trained and you earned your spot, it's not selfish to take what was rightfully you earned. And by the way, she has dated a lot of athletes, and a lot of the athletes that they broke up, according to their press releases or whatever, is because of scheduling conflict. I kind of think that for a lot of women at this level, it is very hard for them to have relationships with men because men want to be, a lot of women who are successful in general, if you want to have a healthy relationship with a man, it's very hard to find one that won't try to force you to center him, especially if he's an athlete. I'm not saying that that's what her exes did, but it doesn't surprise me when a lot of super successful women don't have long-term partner. Those partners are also athletes or famous or whatever, because a lot of these men just want to sabotage your career. So if she's single right now, it's probably because she's been protecting her career more than anything and was not willing to sacrifice anything. She's not going to sacrifice her career for any dude. She even said in February 2025, my Valentine's Day is a little different this year. I have my 2 dogs. So those are my, yeah, I just love that. This is like Cat Lady, but with a dog, but like a badass Olympic gold medal, like one of the best athletes. And then also she recognizes, which is something that I, oftentimes had to let myself mourn, was that because I don't mean to compare myself to her. As somebody who did like so many crazy jobs and, film industry, outdoor adventure, has lived in so many places, so many countries, and just keep pursuing what I want and kind of living like a man but with the socialization of a woman, but like literally just being like, nope, nope, I'm doing what I want to do. It can be lonely at times, and denying that it is unrealistic. And yet at the same time, as all of us know, who dated men who did not deserve it, and just dated men in patriarchy in general, you learn the lesson real quick. There is nothing lonelier than being with a man who centers himself. There is nothing that feels lonelier than being in relationship with men most of the time, unless they are doing a lot of work on deconstructing patriarchy. And if they're unless they're like really like not crazy about you in the crazy way, but really value and cherish you. Otherwise, being with men tends to be real lonely, way lonelier than being a dog or cat lady at this level of badassery. Anyway, let me know what y'all think. If you like my work, please join my Patreon. I have a live this Thursday that I talked about over on Patreon that I'm very excited about. I'll share more details about that later on, either today or tomorrow. Travel stories, personal content, all kinds of stuff. Patreon is what sustains me so that I can continue to talk to you all about all these subjects, because this stuff is very, very exhausting and time consuming, and burnout is easy to do. So thank you, Patreon people, for that community, for your support. Thank you all for y'all's support, comments, shares. Make sure you are subscribed. Hit the hype button if you can or want to. Comments, all that stuff really helps. And thanks for your time. Let me know if you heard the comments. Women are so selfish. What's this old cat lady doing? Skiing like an idiot. She deserves to fall. Why she take up another person's spot? What the fuck you talking about? She's a badass, one of the best ever. Yeah, she deserves to fall because she took someone's place. And no, she didn't. She's the best. One of the best ever in the world. And anyway, by the way, a woman took all these photos, but did y'all know that you don't care? You don't care. Oh, I don't care, woman. You know what? Why aren't you talking about the woman who won the gold medal? This is a cat lady who makes she doesn't talk. She's selfish. She's funny when she's random. She shouldn't be competing because, look at that dog. She's a damn dog. What do you want? Just kids and women. Whatever we do, it's there. And he put it in pervert anyway to stupid ranch. And she's sacrificing for what? And what? Yeah, you know what? Now look. What happened to them? She didn't compete and you hated her because of this misogynist war. God, I hate women athletes.